Don, would you be able to do the pledge tonight? I'm not sure if you heard me or not. We can see you talk, but I can't hear anything. It looks like you're off mute.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Really faint.
I'll be back.
Guess we'll make sure everybody can see my screen. What do you see?
The Roy City Planning Commission.
Well, it looks like Don may have been having some troubles because he jumped off. Taurus, would you mind leading us in the pledge when we get to that point?
I'll be glad to.
And then we'll catch Don another one. Thank you. Well, I think it's 6 o'clock. Do we have, yep, we have at least 4 of us. So we'll go ahead and we'll call to order our work session. Today is the 23rd of March, 2021. And in accordance with Utah State Code, section 52-3-2074, I have determined that conducting a meeting in the Roy City Council chambers presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who would be present. The basis for this determination is that due to the infectious nature and potentially dangerous health effect of contracting the COVID-19 virus, there is not sufficient space in the council chambers to provide appropriate safe physical distancing for the safety of the individuals who would attend. Accordingly, the March 23rd, 2021 meeting will be held electronically without an anchor location. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody would mute, we'll let Taurus go ahead and lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Brand. Let's go ahead and we'll get started. Let me pull up the agenda here. Sorry, I had it just a second ago. I don't think we have to declare any conflicts because we're not going over any, we're not voting on anything tonight. But let me pull up the agenda here.
That's about it.
That's about it. Okay. I had it just a second ago. Okay. Yeah. So any conflicts by anybody?
No.
No.
Okay. General plan update. I think we'll just turn the time over to you, Steve, and then we can just discuss things as needed. So feel free to chime in, everybody, and we'll let Steve take it away.
Thank you. With the length of time that, I mean, last time we really talked about the general plan was probably October-ish. when we were hoping that the COVID-19 would subside, we could actually have meetings, and we were trying to figure out how we could get comments. So we put it online for several months. I put it at least twice in the magazine. I know Councilmember Wilson, the last one, had asked for people to, go on and review and make comments. So I thought it would be a great time, especially after the last meeting where we kind of talked about it a little bit, and to bring it back, let you guys kind of talk about it, hoping that maybe in April, the governor lifts some restrictions and we can maybe have more people than, 10 of us in a meeting that have to be 1,900 million feet apart, plus wear masks. But anyway, so I figured I'd give you all the comments that has come. Actually, the ones I had sent you are all of them. When I talked to Sam, he didn't give me any new ones that I hadn't already had. So the ones I sent you in the packet are the ones that we have received. Now, I know last time, I think it was Ryan or council or chair Cowley had mentioned that, the planning commission doesn't necessarily discuss things. And I kind of thought, well, we can, as long as it's, once it's talked on the agenda, and then we can talk about it from here on out. So if you guys are out and about and you're in a conversation and someone brings up, what is Royce City doing? Direct them over to the website that has the general plan, and they can kind of make some comments. Because again, the more we can get, the better. I know the council, it was more for the purpose of the ordinance for downtown, did a survey, and I'm going to take that survey results and look at our general plan and make sure it kind of coincides. But yeah, so I wanted you guys to kind of go through the comments that we got, see if you agree, if we should add them in, to what extent. And then once after this, when we kind of go through each of the comments, then I can have the contractor go through the general plan, insert anything that we've looked at that we want to do, and then kind of give us another draft that we can really go out and, not necessarily pound pavement, but talk to people, those that you do talk to that are interested. So I don't know if you guys have had an opportunity to review the few pages that I sent you. But I've kind of do have them to be on the screen if we want to talk about them item by item or comment by comment. So the first one being from Herpel. I probably mispronounced that like no other, but she kind of had some comments about traffic calming along 3100 West. I can't remember what the general plan had talked about it, but I know the transportation plan that's part of the general plan, but a separate document is talks about traffic calming devices. In fact, I know there's a few that we've received grant money for that will come into play in 2024 along 6,000 South and 3,100 West. I don't know if any of these, can't talk. If this comment resided with any of you that you want to look at instigating it within the general plan, or if it's just make sure that it does talk about 3,100 West. So I want this interactive, not just me talk.
So you're talking down by 6,000?
Well, that's a roundabout that I know we're going to have, but this particular person didn't really specify where they live on 3,100. So it's kind of hard to say, this is what we should do in this area. It's just kind of, we can look at 3,100 West in the transportation portion of it, and then make any adjustments if you want, or.
Well, I'm trying to picture what they're meaning by a greenway on 3,100 West instead of side streets.
You do have the rail trail is not too far away.
Right.
But It's on 2700. I assume that's what she means by a greenway, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I'm not, that's my problem, is I'm not very clear as to what she means by what's being said here. The 3100 goes from,
Midland down to,
Like
really
goes-
speak on it all the way to 800
Clinton.
north to Clinton.
mid, does it go through 4800?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, anyway, I just don't see where we're talking about a greenway to be put in there.
I think it might be within the plan, but that might be just,
Okay.
it might be just the rail trail that had that. And because in some sections, it does get really close to 31.
Steve, how about emailing her and have her describe what she's talking about? Maybe
Okay.
even send us a Google map, and then we can look at it and make a better decision.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And we've got some time. I mean, especially if we're hoping that things open up in April where we can have some public input. I think we're at the point where we need to start moving this along. But I like that idea from Commissioner Brand of just getting a little bit more information of exactly where they're proposing that and what they mean. And I'm certainly open to considering that and incorporating that if it's possible.
Yeah, on page 18 of the draft plan, it kind of has off-street trails, existing parks and stuff, and 3100 has been identified as a potential off-street trail or on-street trail, along with the DNRG trail. So that might be what she's talking about. But it's a good idea to email her and kind of get more clarification of exactly what she's meaning.
yeah.
Now, 3100 west and 4800, is that where the one circle is right there by the park?
No, 3148 is, there's a Midland Elementary, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And
The park is more rail trail,
Yeah.
2700 west, 2900 west area.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I think that's the one with the traffic light right there at the elementary school. I think
Yes, 31 has a traffic light.
Okay. And okay. I'm not
Yeah,
far enough
you
down
can
there.
email her and get some more clarification.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, and sorry, it's going to be kind of small print on the screen. It was a long letter and didn't want to. This is from Alan King, I believe. Yep. So he had some comments there. I don't know if everybody had the opportunity to go through it.
I went through it.
I know he talked about incomplete sidewalks. That was addressed within the plan. The city has gone through and tried to complete sidewalks in places. We've applied for grants at the Safe Routes to School programs and other things. So sidewalks are slowly, especially for those routes that do go to school, are trying to be completed. A lot of this letter is a little more specific, so to speak, where it can, has concerns of this, of that, and irrigate, so for a general plan wise, we can take these comments in general, but to apply them specifically is a little difficult because we're just looking at the 30,000 square foot or 30,000 foot level of how the city should grow. So, but those comments can be put in there of, safe routes to school, complete sidewalks where they're, at least on one side where possible and stuff like that. But was there anything else you guys took out of his comments that you?
He talked about the high density infill. And he seemed to be against the high density infill. And when you say high density infill, is that high density Ogden, high density Hooper? Anyway, that's always a question. But I personally don't think there's wrong with high density infill. It has more to do with how it's done. So when he's talking about that, that's, you know, it really has to do with how it's done.
Yeah. In the survey that the council did, that was a thing that came up, is they weren't as concerned with the amount of units, just appearance. So as long as the project looked good, they weren't as concerned with height or density. So, but
Well,
also,
yeah.
Within the Focus Roy plan, high density would be more downtown and front runner, and then try to keep the rest of it, medium density like we've got it now. And I think that's what's great about it, is we're trying to identify areas that can be high density and areas that should be left alone.
Right. Well, and if I remember correctly on this one, it was he was concerned about the appraisal value going up for the elderly, which is always a concern when the land value goes up. But they also gain a lot of value to their land itself.
Yeah.
So that's always a hard one when it comes to progress. You've got to, you've got to progress as a city. We can't let everything continue to go downhill.
What? Well, the other thing is, we got to make sure that at least every 5 years we're re-looking at this plan and opening it up and saying, okay, is this still the direction we want to go? Do we want to change it here or change it there, rather than wait 20 years and then try to do it again? So, what may be good right now and in 5 years may need to be changed. Whether it be how streets are developed or where high density can be, or so. We're just looking to figure out what the next 5 years are, and then in 5 years we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, and here again, if I remember right, they were talking about taking some of the existing buildings and revamp them, as opposed to knocking them down and rebuilding. Is this the one I was reading there? Which, our buildings in downtown, that area, are just are in bad shape.
Well, yeah, I like how he compares, the Parthenon and Athens to, those type of buildings. Of course, you're going to keep and build around them, but as you mentioned, Don, what we've got downtown, I don't know if I'd put in even in comparison to the steps of the Parthenon.
No, right. I personally, I would take about 90% of the buildings from 6,000 down to 5,200 and just plow them over.
Yeah. Like you said, appearance and materials and how they appear are always beneficial. And
I completely agree. So
we can kind of look at these type of things and then see what we can do to put it in there. I can go over the contract if you like, and kind of pick out things that are important and put them in there.
Mm-hmm.
How would that comport with the downtown mixed use that the council has approved? Are they in conflict?
This letter or the general plan in itself?
The general plan. We're just talking then. We were talking about maybe putting in something that says about how the buildings work or whatever. I thought maybe that would be included in the already approved multiple use.
Yeah, the general plan coincides with what the ordinance was written. So it won't detract from it.
So, okay, so we should be in compliance with that.
Yeah, they'll just go hand in hand.
Okay. Second question, real quick, Steve. And that
Okay.
is, we also haven't, the council has not yet voted on the train station and mixed use. Is that correct?
Correct.
Don't we need to include that in the general plan?
It is.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. So this general plan talks about having the station area, and kind of how it can develop. And then the ordinance would just kind of coincide with what that is, of allowing for, a little higher density than what you normally would see elsewhere, but mainly because it is the train station. Okay, the next input from Glenda Moore. Hers was more more detailed, I should say. She went page by page, paragraph by paragraph, kind of talking about some things that need to be, possibly changed, or words or typos or what have you. I don't know if you saw any of them that jumped out to you that we need to address, or I can go through them and talk with the contractor about it and say, okay, on this page, we need to make sure this is mentioned, or make sure this is correctly spelled or punctuated correctly.
Yeah, and I think these are good suggestions. I didn't go through all of them, but I did go through a few, and most of them seemed like they're pretty solid suggestions. I think that would be good to go through with the contractor and to say, hey, let's just take a quick look at each of these and see what the best course is to improve it. So,
Right. Anyone else?
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed in Glenda though, because at the end there she goes, I didn't read the appendix. Glenda. But the way we set this up is the appendix is more of the details of how all of the front stuff, came about. So where the background information came from, meetings that they talked about, so most of the appendix is just background information. All the nice, pretty stuff, so to speak, is in the front. So she went through the nice stuff, and the background information is what it is. So, but yeah, I can go through those. Whoops, wrong way. Okay, the next two are smaller. Denise, yeah, I'm not even try it. Bollinger. Commented that we'd hit most of the UN approved agenda talking points. I'm not quite sure what that is. I haven't looked at the UN lately, so. And then I did reach out to UTA again. They do have a major play in this, because they do have a fixed rail line and a station, and then at least 3 bus lines that go through Roy. So this is kind of what they had mentioned from Kayla. So again, I don't know if there was anything that had jumped out to you.
I think it just it's kind of like a mixed bag. You get people who are hesitant and want to move ahead with the general plan, and then you get this that are just chomping at the bit. Hey, this looks great. When are we going to do it? Let's move forward. Let's move Roy. It's kind of like same thing with the past election cycles and stuff that keeps coming up with the city councils. It's people are really for the general plan, and then people are against it. Not too many middle of the road people, but I think on the whole, everybody's kind of anxious for us to start with the general planning and start getting it underway.
Well, the good and the bad is we are required to have one. So knowing ours was adopted in 2002, we're at the point where it needs to be updated completely, not just a little bit. So like it or not, it's going to happen. It's just now, how is the details at 30,000 feet going to look like? So if you haven't had a moment to look through it again, please do so. That's really all the comments that have been provided. Again, if you find yourself talking with friends or family or your neighbors, and maybe bring it up, say that the city is involved in updating the general plan and you would like their review, their comments, send them my email address if it's something they just would like to have in there, or send them to the actual link where it has the video of them kind of describing what's going on. And I think it's a 12-minute video, and the document is just right in the same link. So I think the more we can get out there and talk, not knowing, if we're going to have COVID restrictions lifted or not, but, if you're out there talking with people and each of you talk to 3 or 4 and they talk to 3 or 4 and give that information, there's more comments that we can get.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And just to clarify my comments from the last meeting, I was talking specifically about discussions with developers. So when somebody comes in with a project, we're not having discussions with the developer. I know I've seen several comments and some of the people like, oh, you're just in the back pocket of a developer. And it's like, no, we actually don't have those discussions. But I think this is a great point that you're making, Steve. This is something we should and can be talking about and discussing. And I think the more the merrier. So what's kind of your vision for the next steps, or what do we need to do? I would love if the restrictions are lifted in April. If they're not, I don't know how much further we delay and hold out hope that things open up a little bit. I know the mask mandate will be going away in April. A little bit depends on how fast the vaccine's able to be distributed to everybody that wants it. But what's kind of a time frame, or what are the things that actually need to happen before we,
well, after tonight, I will contact Sam, our contractor, and go over the comments that we've got and try to amend the draft to incorporate those comments, and then have them finalize those and then bring back another draft. That I'll distribute it out to you. So my thought is maybe having another work session on the 27th. Maybe by that time we'll know if restrictions have been lifted or not, and kind of what we can do. If we can have, group meetings of up to, and I'm just throwing a number out, of 50. Maybe we can plan on a couple of open houses and just have someone there counting the number of people that come in, but it would be something that would be just, come and look at maps, talk a little bit with individuals that are there, leave your comments, and then you can leave. We could have them, one here at City Hall, and I can contact a couple schools, just seeing if we could use their gymnasium or something. The library is always open, that we could do that with. So to me, it would be, it just depends. If COVID is not lifted and we can't meet, greater than 10 people, then we're kind of stuck where we're at, and it's just by word of mouth to me. So maybe by next meeting, next work session, we know more, and then we can decide what we want to do.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe have a couple meetings in May and then wrap it up in June and send it on.
Right.
Any thoughts?
I like that idea.
So yeah, I'll get with the contractor, kind of make those amendments with the comments, incorporating them into it, get another draft, and I'll send it off to you. And we'll
Okay.
discuss it again on the 27th of April. Or even we can talk about it a little bit on the 13th. Maybe something's happened by then. And then maybe 27th is an open house rather than a work session or something. So we'll just kind of play it by ear how we go.
Yeah, I like that. And if I think as a planning commission, if we all do a big deep dive before the 27th, so if there's any other things that we think of or need to see, I kind of wanted to get some public input before I went that direction myself with some of the things that I'd like to see. But let's maybe look at maybe within a month if there's any things that we want to do with that. Let's get those in at that time, and hopefully by then we'll know where we stand as far as more public input and whatnot. So.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, that's pretty much all I had.
Okay, commissioners minute. I don't have anything. Do any of the other planning commissioners have anything that they'd like to bring up or discuss?
No,
Actually, go ahead, Forrest.
No.
No.
Oh, Annette does.
I was
Yes.
wondering, Steve,
When is
The
the
buffet
buffet
is
gonna open?
I was actually wondering if we have an ADA coordinator. Mr. King made some really valid points about the accessibility for individuals with disabilities in town. I know we probably don't have money to hire someone full-time, but could he be approached in, I mean, he's indicated his willingness to help, not necessarily with that, but ordinances and so forth to make sure that we are compliant. He said something about the gas station at Harmon's and how difficult it is for him to get around. I just want to make sure everybody's included.
Yeah, some of the signs at the restroom, and there were some other
Yeah,
signage issues. And
ADA wise, the DRC does look at that. There is no UTA bus stop in front of the Harmon's gas station. That bus stop is over by Burger King, and then there is an access point from there. The other issue would be is even if there was an 88 or a UTA stop there, do we want to send people even on foot regular into a vehicular type traffic? So forcing them down where they should be going versus where it's convenient to go is different. So those things myself, the engineer and the building official look at. So, no, we don't have someone that is an ADA person, but building code has ADA requirements. Zoning looks at it for accessibility. Our ordinance does ask, can we get, something from the sidewalk to the building for people to access it. But there is a time and a place for those, going right into a service station is not one of those places. So we do look at those type of things.
Question answered. Thank you, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
okay, Steve, I guess it's on to item number 4, the staff update.
As everybody knows, the city council approved the downtown mixed use ordinance. The mayor has charged me to start now looking at the front runner station and the innovation center, which is over by the airport at 4019, and how we incorporate those into that same mixed use ordinance. I'm hoping I can get it done for the next council meeting so we can talk about it at the work session. As I've told the mayor, it's not huge. Because most of the ordinance has already been adopted, it's really just down to, I think it was 6 charts. The 4 or 5 building types. I guess there's 7, and uses and stuff like that we'd have to amend. Again, most of that now is just going to be what's an appropriate building height for those areas, and what's an appropriate setback for those areas. They are different than downtown, so they do need to reflect a little differently, but it shouldn't be as long and as difficult as the previous one, because we were trying to, when you start dotting I's and crossing T's and making sure things are appropriate, it takes a little bit longer. So We'll start that. If it's not the April 6th meeting, then it would, definitely be just after that. Let's see. With that, and I can't announce exactly who and or where, but the very next Thursday, which is our DRC meetings, so March 2nd, they approved it. March 4th, in our DRC meeting, we had a developer come in and start asking the preliminary type questions for 2 projects in downtown. They're
Good.
not huge ones. They're kind of on the smaller side, but at least there's people that are watching, people that are interested to begin the process. I have had since another developer discussion. This one's more on a larger scale, but there are people out there that are waiting and wanting to come. So
That's encouraging.
yes. Actually, the 2 developers we talked to, the first meeting, actually sent me their stuff 2 weeks before and just said, I know haven't approved it, but the minute it's approved, I want on the DRC. So
Good.
they're a little anxious. So that's a good sign that people are looking to start up, looking at Roy and upgrading and making it a better place. Other than that, a few annexation areas that are being looked at on the west side of Roy. Yeah, well, there we go. So you guys may be busy in the next couple months.
That's good.
Good.
It's exciting to see some of this come to fruition. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, with that, I guess we're on to item number 5. If anybody's interested in making a motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I think we had 3 people who wanted to make that or second that motion.
I'll do it.
Give it to Chris.
All right, Chris, we'll say that Chris made that motion.
Okay, make
All right,
yourself useful.
There you go. All in favor, say aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Have a good night, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks, Steve, and thank you, everybody.
Be safe, guys.
See you guys.